not good at the moment at Manchester United. They're 8 points off Liverpool. They're out of the Carabao Cup. The Champions League is going to be difficult. There's problems with Paul Pogba. Jose Mourinho's not getting the best out of a number of players.
This can't continue. Ed Woodward has to fire Jose Mourinho.
There are things that I cannot get from them. And I cannot say much more than this.
I mean, one role which is within Liverpool, and one of the reasons behind their transfer success as of recent is Michael Edwards. He's done a wonderful job. He's the sporting director, and he's done really, really good job. You saw previously with Ian Airy that there were some deals which, which blew away. But with Michael Edwards, you don't see that. He's a very tactful sporting director. He gets a good bargain. I mean, hypothetically, if Liverpool had to sign Fred, they would have signed him for a much lower fee than how much Manchester United paid, don't you think?
Yeah,
and maybe one of the reasons they paid so much for Fred from a club like Shakhtar Donetsk, with all respect to them, is maybe because of the lack of a sporting director within the club.
Yeah, and I have to say personally, the scouting system at United is not as good as it used to be. They haven't promoted the talent they needed to be. Like, for example, you've got one of the best centre-backs rising up in England, Axel Tuanzebe. He played against Arsenal, and he, particularly for me, he defended Alexis Sanchez, who was one of the best players who later on transferred to United, really, really well. And then you look at Fulham, and you got another United youngster in Tim Fosu-Mensah. And these two are very, very good players. Now, Fosu-Mensah, he played for United, and he played a lot for United. But Axel Tuanzebe didn't get the chance, and he's at Villa, where he's playing really well. See, the scouting system hasn't promoted the talent he needs. And particularly when you look at it, what's even more of a disaster for United is they've needed centre-backs. They've needed defenders to come in and steer the ship, and they've always looked externally. Now, the United of old, they would look internally. They would look to promote their players up, such as the likes with Gary Neville, who they would promote, and Phil Neville, who ended up playing all over when they needed him to. See, they promoted these players, and they performed because they knew what Manchester United were. Now, when you sign players, there have been some terrible signings for Manchester United, like Marcus Rojo. Like, when they signed him, no one was really sure who he was. And still to this day, I don't think they are sure. They signed Daley Blind, and they sold him 3 seasons later. So United's scouting system hasn't been as good as what it used to be. It's almost like they're trying to make profits from players rather than appease the players to stay at the club and win championships. I feel like that's an issue. It's changed from Manchester United Football Club to Manchester United Business Club.
Manchester United Business Club.
I feel like Ed Woodward is particularly to blame there.
When you look at Manchester United, they've got the most amount of scouts for a football club. They've got 65 scouts. 65 scouts, and they still can't get the right recruitment done.
There's obviously an internal problem there.
That has to show an internal problem.
Yes, you need a technical director. And when you look at a technical director, it's a very broad word. It's a very broad word. There are many types of technical directors. Like, you have technical directors in charge of recruitment, other sporting operations, or communications between the owner and the manager.
Absolutely. Or everything.
Yeah.
Or everything.
So what I'd suggest for Manchester United to do is bring someone who has knowledge of the football world, what happens on the pitch, as a technical director. Tell Ed Woodward, look, you're doing the commercial side of the club brilliantly. You take care of that. You take care of that.
We'll take care of the football
We'll
aspect.
take care of the football aspect and use your commercial side to invest.
Up the ranks of the football.
And enhance the club's reputation. And what's extremely important, like you see, Dortmund's sporting director joined Arsenal, and Arsenal have been doing really well in the transfer market after that. And I think it's very important that the sporting director and the manager do get along, right?
Definitely.
You see, Thomas Tuchel and Dortmund's sporting director didn't quite get along. And that was obviously a problem. And that was one of the reasons he joined Arsenal, right? So you need to, the sporting director has a massive responsibility, and in modern football, it's extremely important, whether it's transfers, whether it's the relationships inside the club. Basically, they're the pillar that the club which stands upon. They're very underrated in today's world, and I doubt many people do address it.
So we mostly feel like Mourinho did not have the resources. But I want to talk about Mourinho's track record at the club. Now you see, he comes into Manchester United. In his first season, he wins the Carabao Cup and he wins the Europa League. He gets the 6th place finish in the league, but he takes them back to the Champions League. In his second season, it was the highest placed finish in United since post-Fergie era. He finished second. However, disappointment in the Champions League, lost the FA Cup final, so it was another trophyless season, although it was a good season. And
You
you
see,
see in
another
the second
thing
season,
I just like to address there with the second place finish is that the fans were disappointed, even though the team was second, and on paper, second looks like the club is doing pretty well.
yeah,
I mean,
but the gap
not
between
best.
first to second was
Exactly.
immense.
I think the gap between first to second was what made the disappointment within the fan base.
But then you look at his track record, okay? Last season, he beat Arsenal, home and away. He beat Liverpool, he beat Chelsea, he beat City, he beat Spurs. This season, he drew with Arsenal, he drew with Chelsea, lost to City, lost to Spurs, lost to Liverpool. How do you think that slumps all in one tiny bit of a season?
I think it's to do with the lack of a leader. Right? So you see, there was Michael Carrick, a natural leader within the squad. He joined the backroom stuff. There was Zlatan Ibrahimovic with all his antics, with all his infamous quotes. He was a leader. He knows how to rally the players. He knows how to G them up. Right?
Definitely.
You also had Wayne Rooney leave the club.
Exactly.
Yeah, the club's leading goal scorer and an all-time legend.
And a leader by personality. I think what Manchester United lack at the moment is a proper leader.
Yeah, because you
last
look at the
season you
team.
saw Matic at times taking leadership. This season you see no one, when you're 1-0 down, when you're 2-0 down, no one pulling their socks up and taking the leadership, right?
Well, you look at the United teams of old. I'm particularly speaking from 2008 onwards. You had leaders in, let's say, personally, your goalkeeper was a leader. Edwin van der Sar, he was a leader.
Legend.
You had a left back in Patrice Evra, who was a brilliant leader, even though he's turned into an Instagram vine these days. Then you had Rio Ferdinand and Vidic, arguably the greatest centre-back pairing at the time, arguably the greatest centre-back pairing in Manchester United history. You had a right back, Gary Neville, another leader. You had Ryan Giggs, another leader. Paul Scholes, another leader. Michael Carrick, another leader. You had Ronaldo, who wasn't a leader, but he stepped up because of these guys who asked him. And now he's one of the best leaders. You had Tevez. You had Rooney, another leader. You had Ji-sung Park, who despite his quiet personality, was a leader who never stopped running for the team.
Like
you had
Bergkamp.
Darren Fletcher, another leader. You have so many leaders in that old United team. You look now, you got Chris Smalling, Phil Jones, Marcus Rojo, Luke Shaw, Valencia. These guys aren't leaders. They're players. They're not leaders. You see De Gea. For me, personally, he should be the Manchester United captain. He knows the team more than anyone else. He's been through all the stuff United has been through. And personally, he seems like the biggest leader of them all. Because he will step up to save the team. And Pogba should be the vice captain. Because if you give Pogba something important to do, he does it. France made him their primary playmaker. They won the World Cup. I'm
He's
just saying,
brilliant.
the United team lacks leaders.
Well,
And
On that
it's-
point, Afif.
You can't just blame United on that fact because the type of leader in those days are diminishing in the modern world. You see, where is the next John Terry? You don't see that. You don't see another Steven Gerrard. You don't see another Scholes. It's so difficult to find that type of leader in the modern world of football. Yes, we are seeing leaders develop. Pogba is a de facto leader for Manchester United. Though he isn't the representative, like as of captain or vice captain, he does lead on the pitch.
he's a dressing room leader for
He
sure.
is a dressing
He
room
is.
leader.
And,
What Manchester United need is a leader who does the manager's job for him.
I think United need a leader off the pitch. It's something that's lacking because you have your leaders on the pitch, you have your Paul Pogba, you have your De Gea, but you don't have a guy off the pitch that takes the criticism of the team.
Back then, when Giggs, Scholes all were at the club, when they were seniors at Manchester United, they saw youth players coming out of the team bus, with all these headphones and cool jackets and all that. And then Giggs one day goes and he's like, "Look, we don't do that here. We don't do that here. Get that off. Wear your suit."
This definitely reminds me of Rio Ferdinand, because at Michael Carrick's first practice with Manchester United, Rio Ferdinand is a born leader. Michael Carrick passed the ball back. Now, when you think of that, you think, okay, that's a normal thing to do, it's football. Rio Ferdinand absolutely blasted Michael Carrick. He said, "We are Manchester United, we are confident, we don't pass the ball back. Always move the ball forward, be confident. If you lose the ball, win it back. Be confident, we are Manchester United." You don't see that nowadays. It's just lacking.
Right. Let me just make one point about how Liverpool's squad is filled with leaders. You have Scotland's captain Andy Robertson. You have Virgil van Dijk, Netherlands
James
captain.
Milner.
You have Gini Wijnaldum, Netherlands captain. James Milner, Brown leader.
Jordan
you have
Henderson.
Jordan Henderson, England captain, or has been for some
Mohamed
games.
Salah,
he
Egypt.
is a leader. Mohamed Salah, Egypt captain.
Sadio Mane.
Senegal captain. You had Ragnar Klavan, Estonian captain. You have a team full of leaders, and maybe, just maybe, is one of the reasons for why they are doing so well. A lot of the people are taking leadership, and within the leaders, there are leaders. You see,
But
Jordan Henderson
personally-
is the captain, James Milner is the vice captain, Virgil van Dijk is the third captain, and Gini Wijnaldum is the fourth captain. Full of leaders.
Personally, if I'm going to talk about Liverpool, the main difference between Liverpool and Manchester United, they've both got firepower going front. Now, I think Ole, as good as a manager he is, he's not as good as Klopp, nowhere near him. But they've got two attacking-minded managers. But I think where Liverpool stands out is that defense. Virgil van Dijk is an absolute monster. He is a
Dejan
leader.
Lovren is
He is a leader, and that's where Manchester and Liverpool are different. On that note, I would say that's just the perfect way to end the first episode. Just show leadership. Just step up United players. They have been, the last 4 games, incredible, absolutely incredible. But you need someone, and that's where United need their technical director to come in and get someone who's going to come in on day one, boss the dressing room, and just lift up the spirits. I think that's where Mourinho and Ole are different. Ole is looking for that guy. I think that's the best way to conclude the episode. So, we want to thank everyone who's going to watch this video. If you do like the video, drop a like, just leave your comments and suggestions down below, and if you could share the video, it will be perfect. There'll be a part 1 and part 2 to this video, so we'll drop the part 2 in the link below. Thank you.
See you guys. Bye.